let's get to work on this Mig-29. We're beefing up the elevator linkage. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me again down here in the lair on Just Plain Crazy. I'm Brendan. Hey, let's get into this elevator linkage beef up on the Mig-29. So this is the factory linkage. They got a ball link here, which is pretty cool. It looks like they put a carbon rod over a wire. Maybe they found out, maybe it was engineered that way originally, or maybe they fixed it after the fact. They found out it wasn't beefy enough. I don't like the little bit of flexing in the wire and on this end and stuff like that. So I do want to beef this thing up. It is a personal preference. This plane still suffers, in my opinion, from a long full speed run nosedive issue. And the longer the run is, the worse the pull amplifies. People are fixing it with gyros. That's fine. It's not going to help you pull out from the nosedive issue coming out. The other thing that people are doing is adding crow to the ailerons. That's great. I still think that's masking something. I'm curious if it's the linkage or it's the servos. I'm going to start with the linkage because it's the cheaper route. I currently have in D85s, maybe thinking if I upgrade to MKSs, which are twice the amount of torque, so over 100 inch ounces of torque, they'll be even stronger yet. That's a little bit more expensive. They were recommended to me by a good friend. I'm going to try that down the road. Let's try the linkage first. The other thing with this is CG movement. I've found no change in CG, and I've shifted a good bit forward and aft of the recommended spot, and it's relatively unchanged. So let's get into this linkage. I'm going to show you guys what I'm using and go through the process. So I've ordered myself a set of 440 4.5 inch titanium turnbuckles, so hopefully not adding too much weight. We are going to go with the Dubro 256 ball links, so they are 440 thread and then 256 connection points. So I have a set for each side. And then we are going to use clevises where it attaches to the horn. So a couple routes you can go if you wanted to. You have the golden clevis from Sullivan, which are really good. They use this little clip to lock on there so you know it's secure. And then I have these type, which I'm also going to use on mine. They're just spring lock devices, so either one of them are good. And I do use jam nuts on mine because you don't want that rod to just simply be pulling on the thread and creating actually a little bit of play. So what I want to do is use a jam nut there to actually keep that thing locked in nice and tight. So for the most part, cost is fairly cheap. Nice little upgrade back there, give me a little bit more peace of mind. Again, the model flies fine without it. Full speed long runs though, there's something there I'm trying to correct, and we're doing a little bit of experimentation. So let's get into this. It's time to remove our linkage, so we're going to go ahead and pop off the plastic clevis that was on here. We're going to pay attention to make sure that we stay and go back in the exact same hole that this thing came out of. So that was the center hole. We're going to take that thing out of there. And we're going to just twist and pop that part off. And again, I had put on mine initially just a little bit of hot glue in there to hold it. We're going to take that thing off. Now we have to go ahead and get this ball link off. So I don't know if we can get in there with a screwdriver the way it is. Be kind of tough to get on in that angle. So I think the easiest thing here to do is we're just going to go ahead and take these screws right out of the horn this way. Take that one out. And then these screws we're just going to set off to the side. All right, let's go over to our bench area. So let's get things opened up. I'm going to take out our titanium end links, or titanium push rods, I should say. I'm going to take those things, set those there. We're going to open up one pack of our ball links. Here, I'm going to get out all those pieces. And again, if you're not sure how to do this, you can see there is the diagram. It's on the inside. So we can actually go ahead and going to hold the backside nut. We're going to make sure we stay in the same hole, which is the outside hole here. I'm going to simply remove this setup. And we'll put that back together. And I'll show you why. I'm going to hold on to that for a minute. I'm just going to set that off to the side. And now for this thing, I'm going to make sure that we assemble it the right way. So our bolt's going to go through there. And again, these are 256. So then we are going to, just like our diagram, if we don't lose it. That's close, because in the layer, the floor is not the cleanest, so it would have been hard to find that piece. We would have been kind of stuck. So we're going to make sure that that thing threads right back into there. Let's get a ball driver for that. Be right back. Okay, intermission is over. We're back here with a ball driver. We're just going to go ahead and thread that bad boy right in there. It's almost nice and tight just the way it is. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this nut on this side. Now, I don't know that, to me, I trust that just like that. I want a self-locking nut on there. So bear with me. We're not going to use that nut. I'm going to go get a self-locking nut. Be right back. All right, guys. I got my self-locking nuts, and I want to take this back out for just 1 second, because I want to make sure that I do this fairly. I think it's always nice to compare weights. And here's my locking nuts. And again, this stuff may be overkill, but maybe that's why, like, none of my stuff falls apart and it lasts for a while. So anyway, so let's bring out our handy dandy scale here. Let's turn that on. And I am going to throw on that thing, that thing, that thing, and that. So we are at 7 grams. The new linkage in itself is going to weigh 7 grams. There's weight penalties for everything we do, right? So let's get this and throw that on there and throw that on there. So with the beefier linkage, we will add 2 grams aside to the plane for weight. So just FYI. So if 4 grams bothers you, then you can stick with what you have. That is completely up to you. So we are going to go back to this thing again. Going to make sure we get our stuff put in here the right way. That one. And again, they used the outer hole. Come on, little pieces here. And now I'm going to get my lock nut. Thread that on the back side. I'm sure they have smaller lock nuts, but that's the 256 lock nuts that I have. So we are going to make it work. And that is just going to be the way it is. Gosh for dang it. Why didn't you guys tell me that was on the wrong side? You waited. Now I got to get all the pieces back. You ever struggle with something that you just shouldn't struggle with? It's kind of, I think, where I am right now. We're struggling. So the ball link has to be on the inside of this piece. So now we can hold that. Yeah, if you have a wrench, wrench works better. Too, if you really had security issues, you can use a washer on that bolt, so that way the plastic would never pull off. So from here, we can just go ahead and thread this bad boy into there. And I try and hold, don't twist and force this end. You want to hold and support that end there. So for now, I'm just going to align those that way. And I'm going to slide on one of my Space Jam nuts. I keep bumping the camera. I apologize for making you guys seasick. I think these are the right size. I probably didn't even check them. Guess I should have. It's bad on me. All right, got to get the right nuts. Those are 256 nuts. I need 440s. Be right back. All right, guys, we are back. And we now have the right size nut. So I'm just going to simply thread that on there. I'm going to take my locking clevis and thread that on. And then what I am going to do is just simply rough eyeball up. You can measure it if you had a veneer caliper big enough. There's mine. It's not big enough. I need to get a 6-inch. I only got a 4-inch. So we're just going to go ahead and eyeball that to there. And I need to adjust this in a good bit. So let me get to adjust and I'll be right back. All right, guys, you can see that we did the adjustment. So just by a eyeballing, and you can measure these out very specifically if you want to, but I have my pivot points lined up and I have my linkage lined up there. So I am very happy with the way that is. Now what's going to be important is that I make each one of these the same length. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to build the next linkage rod right next to this one, so we can go ahead and open up our packet. Can take our threaded rod here and get our clevis, get our other nut. So you notice one end is the right hand thread, one hand is left hand thread. I guess I should have told you that. And the other one, thread that on there first to make sure that we have the right way. And I'm simply going to thread that on most of the way. And then this one, we'll thread it in reverse into the plastic. That way. If you wanted to, you could put something in there and pivot this thing around. But all I simply do is use that there. We will hold this like that, and then we are going to pivot this thing. So let me get this thing adjusted, and we'll be right back. I've adjusted up the other push rod, and one of the things you can do is you can either just set it right against the top and measure it there like that. Again, you can use a veneer caliper to check it. You can use the other side of the bolt sticking out and make them even with each other, and there you can see they're the same distance. So I have my one already built and set now for the other side, and let's get you over to getting this one hooked up to the plane. So the first step I'm going to do over here, again, we're going to make sure we use the center hole in the horn. I like to put my linkage, I know it's 10.5 dozen ways or the other depending on gravity and everything else. I like to use the pin so it's going down, so the gravity, if like something were to fall apart, the linkage won't fall out. It literally has to be pulled out of the top part of that servo arm. So we're going to make sure that we use that center pin, the post in there, which we're in. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the stabilizer. Get Get that screw started in there. Get the screw started in the other one. So those are nice and tight. That one's in that pin. No risk of coming out there. And when you're happy with the adjustment, now again, the plane isn't powered right now. I made my linkage the same length, so I'm just going to check them to make sure that they're equal per side, and I'll be okay with that. And then what I'm going to do there is simply get that jam nut and just snug that thing up. So that is some really, really beefy linkage in here. Titanium push rods. We're using the 440 titanium push rods with the 440/256, so the 256 fits right through the horn. And we're using just you can use, as I said, a golden clevis or something that you have on hand right there. And I think that is a lot stronger and beefier of a linkage than was on there. So we are going to wrap up the other side, guys, and we'll take it out at the field and see if that helps correct anything, or if it winds up being that maybe those need to be even stronger yet to correct that condition. And if those two things don't work, we're going to concede that it's a design in the plane is a tendency, and that's just going to be the way it is. So in the search for knowledge, that's what we will do. Again, it's Brendan here, just playing crazy. I hope you like the linkage upgrade. Make a decision. Maybe is it right for you? Is it not? Or are you okay with the gyro or the way it is? To each their own, you know, just throwing out little tips, tricks, things that, you know, I'm going to do or experiment with, and you might like to do the same thing. So if you liked it, like it, subscribe, share. I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Feel free, always comment below. Happy flights to you guys. Peace out.